Was suggested that the Detroit Pistons should go for Nikola Vucevic, and the most logical, I guess, player to trade is Isiah Stewart. Is this even possible? We'll talk about it.
Get the lowdown on one of the most iconic basketball teams in the world. You're listening to Chicago Bulls Nation.
What is going on, Bulls Nation? So there were just, I would say, not even rumors or reports. Somebody suggested that the Detroit Pistons, I think it was Sports Illustrated, that they might be interested in Nikola Vucevic in running a two big lineup with Jalen Duren and Nikola Vucevic. Now that sounds good in theory because Jalen Duren is that he can protect the paint. Unlike we all know as Bulls fans the shortcoming of Nikola Vucevic, but he's still a very productive player. He can stretch the floor much more so than Jalen Duren. He is more of a finesse type of big compared to Jalen, who can, he's a very good big, but his skill set is a bit different than Vucevic, which might complement the two because for some reason two big lineups are a thing again in the NBA. I think they proved it. Oklahoma City sometimes is running Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. So two bigs is kind of like back, but two versatile bigs. And if you think about it, it does make sense. At least for the Pistons side. What doesn't make sense for Pistons is giving up Isiah Stewart. He is a much better player right now than Vooch is. Now, a lot of you might disagree because you're looking at the numbers, rebounds and points, and that would suggest otherwise. But also, Isiah Stewart is only 24 years old. I think he's turning 25 in a very favorable contract at only $15 million a year. So in a vacuum, that is not a good trade for now or in the future. Maybe for now in the short term, perhaps, but I don't know. If I was Detroit, this is what I'm saying. Like, if I was the Bulls, I'll do this in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Just talking about the pros and cons of Isiah Stewart. I guess the only con you would say is a bit undersized for center, if that's what you're planning to play him with. Let's say you have him and then Jalen Smith. So those two are under 7 feet tall, but Beef Stew, as they call him, is a big body. Something that we don't have here in the Bulls. We do have length now when you talk about Matas Buzelas and Noah Asingay, but they don't have the body yet to to bang with the big boys. Of course, in the NBA, Beef Stew can do that. Although he doesn't have the length, that's where maybe Matas and our other guys could provide rim protection. Beef Stew is not a big rim protector. He's also not great at rebounding, surprisingly. But he's a very good defender, very solid, and again, not afraid to have confrontations, to have beef with other players. That is something that the Bulls would need, some dog in the team that we are still lacking. I think the last one we do have like that was a point guard in Patrick Beverley. And I would love to have some fire within this team because I like the fact that everyone get along and everyone's nice, but you do need that one guy that would get a tech here and there. I think Matas certainly has that reputation, but is a second-year guy. I don't think anyone's really going after that. Zach Collins is more of a tough guy, tough in the sense that he's in the court, but he's not gonna talk smack. He's not gonna get somebody's head. Beef Stew with somebody can incite some chaos out there in the court. He's the type of guy that you hate playing against, but you like playing with. And I always feel like the Bulls needed somebody like that. Whether it's him or somebody else in the free agency. Like a tough guy, basically. But with that being said, I don't think this is going to happen. I don't think Detroit is going to do it. If they ever do, let's say they are just curious about what would that lineup look like. I think the Bulls is going to need some assets to attach to Vooch, like a pick or something. And at that point, if it's a second rounder, sure, why not? But if it's a protected first, I don't know if I want to give that for Stu. Because like I said, he is like an undersized big. At that point, whatever that pick is, I'd rather go for Nick Richards, honestly. I think you can have Nick Richards for a second, maybe 2 seconds at that point. I don't think it's going to require first. But yeah, if it's straight up for Vooch, absolutely. Sign me up any day of the week. I'll even drive Vooch personally to Detroit if that's the case. But I don't think Detroit's going to go for it. I would love to as a Bulls fan. I'm talking as a Bulls fan here. I would love to. But realistically, no. We're going to have to look for that in the free agency next year. Where the Bulls is going to have a lot of cap space, even if we re-sign Josh Giddey. Now, if we re-sign him for an absurd amount of money, and then Kobe White, and then Ayo Dosunmu, then that wouldn't make sense. But I don't know what the future outlook of the Bulls are, because after re-signing Trey Jones, I was under the impression now that we are going to trade either one of Kobe or Ayo, to create that another position of need, a center or maybe a small forward. We're still lacking depth on the wing. We do have, I don't know if you can call Patrick Williams a wing. He's like a tweener. He's in this day and age, he's an okay power forward at 6'7", but I feel like he's too slow to be in the 3. He's too unreliable to be a 3 and D guy. I don't even know he's good at either, like a 3 or a D. Dalen Terry the same way. So we need those 6'7", 6'8" guys that can defend the perimeter consistently and perhaps maybe shoot the ball a little bit. Isaac Okoro maybe would be that guy, but he's on 6'5". He's like Kobe White size. So we need that kind of personnel on this team if the Bulls want to keep on getting in and improving, because they don't want to tank. So if you don't want to tank, you might as well improve the team in the margins. But yeah, I was expecting that kind of trade, but so far nothing. But we shall see. But let me know in the comments down below, how do you feel about the Vooch to Stewart trade if it ever happens? How far are you willing to go as far as giving up assets? Thank you for watching. And again, as always, if you are a Bulls fan, consider subscribing to the channel. I would really appreciate that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.